What's going on, guys? Meteorologist Jonathan Kegges back with you on a Wednesday night. It is 9:30. Thank you guys a ton for being here. We have a lot to talk about again. Changing weather pattern for the state of Florida. The tropics are kind of settling back down to a degree, although there is a new area now highlighted by the Hurricane Center. That was as of 8 o'clock tonight. So I'm going to show you that first, and then we're going to get into some of the other stuff. Umberto is officially gone. We will watch that continue to kind of be absorbed by Imelda as it is very, very close to the island of Bermuda. Could make an actual landfall. We always say this. It is super hard to make landfall on the island of Bermuda because it is literally a 15-mile plot of land in the middle of the Atlantic Ocean. And the storms, the eye wall is relatively small in these things. Although Imelda has a 4 mile per hour wide, 45-mile wide eye, although it's very collapsed and it's kind of beat up as it's going through its last push, but still a category 2 hurricane tonight. Then we'll go into the Florida forecast. Of course, the beach conditions are still dangerous and they are going to be that way through the weekend. Partially related because the Atlantic needs to settle down, but it's actually going to be re-enhanced by the same deal that is going to increase the unsettled stretch of weather. So we're going to be talking a lot about that tonight. Post in the comments where you're tuning in from. Good evening, Mimi Love, good luck, good to see you. Good morning. Good evening, Jody. Hope you're doing well. Elizabeth, Melissa, hope you guys are doing well. Christopher, hope you guys are having a great night tonight. We're coming at you live, of course, on News 6 Plus and on the News 6 app, the News 6 clickorlando.com, and the News 6 YouTube page. I'm trying to say YouTube page, and I can't get the YouTube page out. So here's the deal. This is the area that has been highlighted by the National Hurricane Center. Over the next few days, the next 7 days, there is a low opportunity for development. It's not for this kind of spinny thing out here. It's because of this guy that's getting ready to slide off the African coastline. It's going to catch up to that kind of mess in the eastern Atlantic, and then the two are going to have the opportunity to develop over the next couple of days, over the next 7 days. So that's the new thing in the Atlantic. We'll look at some of the ensemble forecasts when it comes to that in just 1 second. I want to get to the satellite picture of what is kind of happening out here now. And this is where Bermuda is. Again, this is very close to the worst of the worst for the island of Bermuda. Again, taking you real close in there. I mean, the worst of the weather, probably about an hour to 2 hours away from Bermuda, maybe a little bit longer. That's it, maybe 2 to 4 hours away. But it's going to be a rough night for our friends in Bermuda as a Category 2, the center of the Category 2 Hurricane Imelda is going to work its way through the island of Bermuda. Winds sustained right now at 100 miles an hour. The pressure coming up a little bit, and it is racing. Now, it's good that it's not going to just chill over the island for a while, but that also adds to the kind of the wind screaming through Bermuda when you have that fast forward speed like that. So it's a double-edged sword, but at least it's going to be over on the quicker side. Latest track, again, it's basically going to hit Bermuda square on and then go up into the North Atlantic. Had a question from our friend Sue in Nova Scotia about the wind heights. For that, I want to show you the model here. And just look how extensive. This is tomorrow morning. All of the yellow here represents wave heights of 10 feet or more. The orange, you start to get to the 15 to 20 foot, and then red is over 20-foot waves. Huge, expansive footprint here that these two storms have kind of churned up in the Atlantic. So pretty wild stuff here. Let me take this into the future. So, I mean, right off the coast of Nova Scotia, and you see it actually gets better. And the reason why it gets, so that your worst wave heights are going to be like early tomorrow morning through tonight, tomorrow morning. Let me go back and we're going to get the dabber out and we're going to play with that real quick. So this is Thursday, tomorrow morning. We're going to go up the eastern seaboard. And then offshore, we're talking 10-foot waves. And then near shore, more like 6 to 8. So kind of like what we're dealing with in Florida off the coast of Nova Scotia. The southern side, a little better. Still 6 to 8 feet as that kind of swings on by. The waves are going to settle down big time, though, because also coming through coming out of like the Great Lakes area, out of the Hudson Bay. There's a nice big chunk of high pressure that's going to plop itself right there. So that's going to calm the winds a little bit, allow our waves to settle down like right off the Canadian Maritimes and off the New England coast. So that's the deal when we're talking about the wave heights with regards to Imelda. Now, for Florida, this is kind of jumping the gun a little bit, but since I have it up, I want to show you when we talk about the Florida case or the Florida forecast. We're going to get into this further. You'll see the wave heights right off the coast of Florida. They stay through Sunday into that 6 to 8 foot range. And it's actually because of the high pressure over New England. So you see here, that the main wave action from the storms is pulling up and away back into the North Atlantic. There is the high pressure where the wave heights are relatively low, and then we have that helps to generate strong easterly flow off of the Atlantic. So that not only is going to keep the waves pretty rough and the beaches pretty dangerous through the weekend in Florida and along the southeast corner of the United States, but it's also going to help to generate downpours, and we're going to take a closer look at the Florida part of this forecast coming up in just 1 second. Before we get into that, though, I do want to show you some of the ensembles and the Google DeepMind when it comes to that wave. Now, I have a bunch of stuff highlighted here, or at least I have it going out 300 hours. So I'm going to back this train up a little bit. And this is going to make a little more sense. So I'm going to tell you like maybe the end result of the story before we get into the meteorology behind it. But the Google DeepMind has shown this for the last couple of days that within our kind of stalled out system and that easterly wave, the easterly push of wind, push of moisture, that we might be able to develop a homegrown tropical system off the Florida coast and in the northern Bahamas. This is looking at October 10th. So this is 9 days out. A few of the members want to develop something a little earlier. That's the 4th, and we start to see some of those L's pop up off the coast of Florida. And here, by the way, is this other one that the Hurricane Center highlighted today. So there we go with that. And there is also another little pesky thing potentially over here. So the Google DeepMind is highlighting 3 different systems through the 10th of October. So for that, I want to go to the Euro and see what that's showing. And it actually also has all 3. It's not as strong on the signal close to home, which I like. But it does have this Bay of Campeche storm. It does have the African wave. And let me take this out further again. There's not as much, although it kind of bounces down here. So there is some decent agreement to something developing Bahamas, Florida Straits, maybe right off the Florida coast. So kind of wild. Richard says, would not plan on going for a swim at the beaches in Ormond due to the undertow. And that's the thing. We see it time and time again. And we unfortunately already had a fatality earlier in the week off the Volusia County coast from getting stuck in a rip current and drowning. We see it time and time again with these distant hurricanes that's the hidden danger, that they are passing safely by, all things considered, but they are creating that hidden danger, that rip current risk, and that is going to remain on the higher side. Alrighty, guys, I have to get my first break in. Keep the comments coming. Let me know where you're tuning in from tonight. If you're a first-time watcher, if you're visiting us for the first time, I'd love to know about it. Don't be shy. We'll have that conversation again. Certainly, if you have any questions on what we just talked about, post those as well. On the other side of this break, we're going to talk more of a Florida-centric feel unless we get a lot of questions when it comes to the tropics. I'm going to go back. There's been a lot of comments tonight, so I appreciate that. Thank you, guys, for the interaction, for the conversation. I'm going to look at these comments during this 3-minute break, and then we'll hit them on the other side of the break. See you soon. Alrighty, guys, we are back on a Wednesday night and still a lot to get to. Melissa, I'll get to your question in just 1 second. I have a graphic for you to show that. And it kind of starts right here with the satellite image. Of course, there are the hurricanes moving away. The wind still out of the north and east, and it's going to be this northeasterly wind off of the Atlantic that helps to generate these downpours over the next couple of days. This graphic, I think, tells the story here. It's the rainfall forecast over the next 7 days for the state of Florida. And where you see the reds and purples, that's where we have the highest rain chances over the next couple of days. Because what we have going on is that stiff breeze off of the Atlantic that will keep crummy beach weather rolling for the better part of the next 7 days. It's going to generate the downpours. They will be heaviest along the coast. Moderate rain further inland towards I-4. Some of these downpours, maybe a rogue rumble of thunder, sneak in toward I-75, but then you see the panhandle on the drier side in the lighter blue color, and then the lighter green color closer to I-75 and the Gulf Coast of Florida. So again, I think it is going to be a tale of two sides of the Florida Peninsula here over the next 7 days, with the highest opportunity for rain and the heaviest rain falling right along the I-95 corridor close to the Atlantic beaches. That red color, by the way, at least on this map, represents 5 inches or more of rain. That purple color represents 8 inches of rain. So, I mean, we're talking about a good amount here. Now, again, that's over 7 days, but certainly it's going to be on the wetter side. So to answer Melissa's question, this is the reason why, and it is because of that chunk of high pressure that we were talking about. It's way up in New England. But what it's going to do is it's airflow around high pressures clockwise. So you see those blue arrows. So we'll take it closer up towards New England. You see that clockwise flow and the arrows all the way down. You trace them back down towards the Atlantic. You see them kind of blasting right on through. With this kind of stalled weather feature, the stalled front that develops later in the week, later tomorrow into Friday, we're going to do something known as increase the pressure gradient. So when you get two areas of pressure around each other that don't like each other very much, the wind increases in between. It's just like when you let air out of a tire, how the air kind of rushes out because the air pressure inside is much higher than what it is outside, so it rushes out. It's the same kind of thing here where the air is rushing from high pressure to low pressure, and it's increasing. So it's unfortunately increasing right into the Florida coast. So I think more days than not, it's going to be gray, again, especially further east you are. And especially, again, the further east you are there. So again, that front is going to try to ride up over the next couple of days. And where that resides is going to bring the heaviest rain. So they go into Friday. It's kind of meandering around South Florida with the darker greens and the darker yellows, indicating that heavy rain potential. And you clearly see there, while there is rain potential through the Florida Peninsula, the darkest green, the darker yellows, that's the heaviest, more widespread stuff. That is going to kind of stay tightly clinging to the coast. So if you do have plans on the beach, again, unfortunately, more often than not, it's going to be very windy. It's going to be kind of gray and wet. Not all the time. The breeze is going to stay cranked up for a good part of the week ahead. And then the surf is going to stay very, very rough as well. Thanks, It's Only Lee. I appreciate that. Thank you for the kind words, and thanks for being here tonight and hanging out with us. So I want to show you the higher resolution stuff for tomorrow. This is going to be the high res model now. It kind of gives a better idea when we get up and close to the actual day if it's going to play. There we go. So you see the white lines kind of moving faster and those green arrows that are subtle there. Spring Hill areas, I think it would be more in the afternoon for you, and that's going to be more in few and far between. I'll show you that here. There's the flare up of thunderstorms close to the coast. So again, just be mindful of the opportunity for some downpours for your morning commute, and don't be caught off guard if there are downpours even inland tomorrow, right around late morning, early afternoon. And then as we move in towards 7, 8 o'clock on your Thursday night, a few more downpours coming through. And that is going to be the theme of the next couple of days. Alrighty, guys, a lot of good questions about Jody, this is not going to hit Florida. There could be something sneaky, though, trying to develop in the next 10 days close to Florida. But I don't think that one that is highlighted by the Hurricane Center tonight, that one should lift up and out and leave us alone. I had to get my second break in. Coming back, there's been a lot of good questions about October. I'm going to answer that question coming up in 3 minutes. Thanks for sticking with me, guys. We'll see you soon. Alrighty, guys. Thank you a ton for being here tonight. We'll go over a couple of questions. Hey, what's going on, Andy? Richard says, I heard Bermuda, always heard that they have the strongest building codes in the world. I believe they are very strong. Bermuda typically does do well, relatively speaking, in the Caribbean, in when they get impacted by these hurricanes. So they typically do well. They're also a little elevated. They have a lot of protection around the island. So they should be okay for the most part if everybody heeds the warning and everything and just kind of chills out for the next 12 to 24 hours. Okay. Elizabeth has asked a couple times if it's going to be quiet in October. We were looking at this yesterday. This is kind of the long range ensembles. And again, what this does is just we use this in the long range to kind of see what models might be biting on. And some of the ensembles, again, we showed you earlier, have maybe a weak area off the coast of Florida. Another round coming through. This is the 10th to the 11th, where the orange and yellow balls start popping up, or the circles start popping up. That's where the ensemble is thinking this is certainly not as bullish as last night, but they're going to flip flop back and forth. It looks like there's a pretty decent push of some rising air coming through, and that may help to keep October pretty active, very similar to last year, hopefully minus the impact but I do think it's going to be pretty active into October. Whether we're talking about things hitting land, that remains to be seen just yet. But anything again in the Caribbean, we want to keep completely out of the Caribbean for sure because it has been wild. Question about the water temperature right now. If you're talking about closer to Florida, let me hit the play button here and let's get my dabber out and we can do some of that investigating. And then right off the Florida coast, it's in the low to mid 80s right now. If you're talking about the Gulf, forget about that. I mean, it is very, very warm down in this area. Western Caribbean is super juiced, upper 80s. Sure, there's probably a few 90-degree readings in there if you had a buoy. So it's super warm down there, and that water is very deeply warm. So even if something were to come in there and churn it up, there's not much cool water beneath that. Meme Studio says, I've been thinking that hurricanes have gotten closer every single one they've been this year. Is that, I mean, they've gotten pretty close. Certainly Imelda got close, and then Umberto kind of took that one away from the Southeast United States. But yeah, they have been a little close. Thankfully, we haven't had one connect since Chantal, which brought the flooding to North Carolina. Yeah, and that's we always have to watch. October, we're still big time in play, unfortunately, because we get the storms to develop around the South American gyre or the Central American gyre, and then we get them to kind of lift up because cold fronts kind of lift those things up. So it's one of the things again that we are watching as we get into the middle of October. I think the second to third week of October, if we can get past that, I think we're going to be good. I mean, there's only at that point only 5 weeks left of the season. We would typically quiet down, but hey, I mean, we've had impactful storms, Nicole, in November over the last couple of years. So hopefully that nothing concrete on the 14th for any kind of maintenance plans. I saw that you had something on the power coming up. We'll be watching kind of the Western Caribbean into the Yucatan during that time, and then potentially something lifting. That is so far out into the future. I mean, that's 2 weeks out into the future. So what the steering currents look like, if there's going to be something to potentially pull it up or send it back towards Central America, that's something that we just don't know at this point. But we can look at some of the large scale stuff, and it does appear during that time that we could see some kind of at least increase in thunderstorm activity in the Western Caribbean around the Yucatan and into the Southern Gulf. Alrighty, guys, that's about all the time I have for you tonight. Really appreciate you being here. If you want to kind of stand pat, if you were watching on News 6 Plus, if you're watching on News 6 Plus tonight, keep it parked right here. News 6 at 10 is coming out. We're going to have some video out of Bermuda from a couple of hours ago. We're going to take a look at the latest on Imelda as it goes towards Bermuda. And then, of course, the focus becomes on the unsettled stretch that comes to Florida, really starting tomorrow, picks up a little bit into the weekend. We're going to get all into that coming up in News 6 at 10. Then, of course, on the traditional cable side, we're back at 11 o'clock, News 6 at 11 on the CBS affiliate. Hope to see you all there. And, of course, we're right back here tomorrow night at 9:30. I'll catch you guys then. Really appreciate you tuning in. Again, we're here every night from 9 to 9:30 right here. If you liked what you saw, please consider hitting that subscribe button and coming back. I always love the weather conversation with you guys. That's what we do. We talk about how the weather's going to impact you and then have this conversation. It's a two-way street. Really appreciate that, guys. Thank you for the kind words, everybody in the chat. Thanks again for being here. I'll catch you tomorrow or in a couple minutes. News 6 Plus. See you then.